It's been a long one, and I need someone so high. Pull up and
wash away the toxicity.
With my brush on, and yeah, the candles moving, and yeah, the candles moving, and it's time for you to join the current. Here we go again. Critically drinking, stay thirsty, my friend. Burning the clouds and hoping never.
Hustle and grind culture is another version of it. I can sleep when I'm dead. You'll be dead.
It's showtime. Come in and have a drink with the whole crew. Come on then, join the panel or chill from the chat. Do it how you wanna do. The misfit goods keep the whole chat lit. And soon you'll be a part of it too. So come back again, my friend, or we'll come find you. Here we go again.
What's up?
Critically drinking, stay thirsty, my friend. Letting love and hoping never. If it does, oh, we'll be back again. Now let's make one thing clear. Because of you is why we're here. You give us life, you give us love. That is why we hold you dear to our heart. Come and join the show, 'cause we need you to grow. So pull up and share with us all of the things you know. Here we go again. Critically drinking, stay thirsty, my friend. Learning to love and hoping never. If it does, oh, we'll come back again.
And like the song say, hey, don't, I will come find you. Easy way. Or the hard way.
Amazing.
I got my own platform. If I got something to say, I hit my live button, ho.
Wow. Every single time. Every single time. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Critically Drinking. It's not critically drinking if there's not any audio visual issues. So I'll just start this again from the top. I was trying to find a video. That's what I was doing when I had my phone up. Hello, Don Frank. Good to see you. Mika Marcel. Greetings to you. Arisa Neal. Hello. Blessings to everyone. We got Missy T in the building. Hello. Good to see you. Muted. All the muteds. Yeah, that was terrible. That was terrible. I know. That was bad. That was real bad. I hear nothing. I heard, yeah, that was bad. Yep. That was pretty bad. So, I deserve one of I gotta come over here to get this. Give me a second. I gotta get one of these.
I mean, come on, man. Come on.
Oh, that was bad. Anyway. And thank you. We got And Nia, hello, hello. Good to see you as well. Thank you, everybody. I think, did I greet you, Inya? Inya, hello. I know I said I hear nothing. Anyway. Whew. All right. Be easy, that dude. What is up, my guy, man? Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Today, everybody, what I'm going to start out by talking about is conflict and conflict resolution. I have a couple of videos that are going to talk about the nature of that. I've got a couple people that will probably be pulling up sooner or later. Come on, man, counter. Yeah, I know I deserve that one. I earned that one, Yella. And what is up, Yella? Forgive me, man. My StreamYard is moving really slow for some reason. We got Quantum in the building. Hello, hello. Yeah, so everybody, man, I definitely appreciate y'all. So y'all know I do not like to waste a lot of time. Really quickly, I will be mentioning on Twitch, 7 p.m. Eastern. Me and Yellow will be doing a versus. We do back and forth with the music videos, so that people can then vote and decide, who had the better selections. We do that every Wednesday over there on Twitch. So if you're interested in that, come over and hang out with us. If not, that's cool. We'll see you here on YouTube. Tomorrow, we will be doing a Come On Man. We will be talking about idiophobes, people who are averse, who do not like new ideas and reason. And then Friday, it's going to be an open panel. I'll drop the link and pin it. Anybody wants to come chat, it'll be open topic. So whoever gets here first, we can start talking about whatever. We can just chit chat. So that's the schedule. Get the housekeeping out of the way real quick. But because I don't like wasting my time or yours. Oh, community decision. Oh, wait. Yes. I need to see if I can figure out how to do a poll. How do we do a poll, y'all? Is there a way to do a poll? I've seen people do polls. How do you do it? Does anybody know? How do you do a poll on YouTube? Give me a second. Maybe I need to pull it up on my PC. Because yesterday when I was live, of course, somebody added me. Somebody somebody did a mention while I was live yesterday. And I commented on the video and they said they wanted to be unblocked. Our dear Simple Simon wanted to be unblocked. But I want to know if you guys want him unblocked in the chat. That will be totally up to you guys because I really just don't care. Yep, start a poll. Should Simple Simon be unblocked? Yes or no? Bam. I did have to put it up. All right, the poll is up. And again, it will be completely up to you guys. I really have no care one way or the other. But, crusty, salty ass Uncle Rocco said he coming through to stir up some shit. Appreciate you. Hell nah. It's a lot of no's coming through. That's hilarious how quick them no's is jumping up. Okay, listen. Again, I don't care. Simon really doesn't typically cause any problems in the chat, but he asked to be blocked. Again, I wasn't going to block him. He asked to be blocked or said, block me, whatever. Anyway, he said that. So, that's all on him. He wouldn't have been blocked if he wouldn't have been running his mouth. So you guys get to decide if you want him to be blocked or unblocked. Again, that's totally up to y'all. But like I was saying, now that that's out the way, now we can get to the video. Now, this first part is going to talk about, it's not actually addressing the conflict. I have another lady that's going to come up behind that. Yeah, we had to listen to him and he requested it. Absolutely. He requested it. He said, block me. Okay. I wasn't planning on it, but it is what it is. It is what a TI is. So that's all up to y'all. Y'all get to vote. This first part is actually, I'm adding this too, because it's not really necessarily about conflict. This is actually a strategy when you're dealing with conflict. Jordan Peterson is talking about his kind of like rule of 3 about when you need to address it. Anybody that's been with me or listened to me stream for a while, everybody's heard me. I had to work on assertiveness. I had to work on being able to address stuff because that's not natural for me. I kind of grew up a little more passive. I did not want to stir up any trouble, rock the boat, cause any problems, didn't want any trouble for myself. So I did not bring issues up, even if I was bothered by something. So he's about to talk about his rule of 3 about how and when to address something. It's about 3 minutes, a little bit less than 3 minutes. Yeah, New Growth. Oh, so man, appreciate you. Put him on an apology tour. You know, you're right. He did not apologize. He just sent out a little weird little video. That's a good point too. I'm here but driving, so just listening for now. Thank you, Don. Hey yo, peeps. But let me go ahead and put this video. Oh, it's already up. I just need to hit play. That's sad.
Don't lose an opportunity to grapple with something that objects to you, especially when the objection is rather small, because that's something you say, well, I can put up with it. It's like, fair enough. Like, you don't want to make everything into a war. I usually use a rule of 3. If we're interacting in.
Come on, YouTube has been acting a fool these last couple of days. So I do want to talk about that. The first thing that he said was something I deal with a lot. I try not to make a big deal out of something. But what I'm learning, especially on the internet, especially with these panels, where we have the approximation of safety and security, I find it strange that we're so unwilling to address issues that are obvious. Obvious to everybody. Everybody gets uncomfortable. Everybody recognizes the conflict, but we're not willing to speak on it. So while we have this relative safety, and these are safer conversations that people are having disagreements about, this will be the perfect time to embrace conflict resolution. So that's kind of what I'm bringing to the forefront today. But let me see if this is actually going to play now. And it doesn't look like it.
You do something that I find disruptive, I'll note it. It's like potential dragon, gone. And I leave it be. And then if you do it again, I think, oh yeah, that probably wasn't merely situational, but I'll leave it be because that's still not enough evidence. But if you do it a third time, then I'll say, hey, I just noticed this. And you'll say, no, that didn't happen. And I'll say, yeah, not only did it happen, but it happened here and it happened here. And I'm not making this up. So there's something going on here. Like, I'm not ignoring it, and we can get to the bottom of it. And then they'll come up with a bunch of objections about why that isn't necessary. And you push those aside, and they'll come up with a few more objections, and they'll push those aside. And then usually they'll get mad or burst into tears. And if you push that aside, then you get to have a conversation. Right, and then you can solve the problem. But man, you got to be a monster, because first of all, you need 6 arguments about why their objections aren't going to stop you. And then you have to not be intimidated by the anger, and you have to not be swamped by compassion about the tears. And then you can have a conversation. And people don't do that. They won't do that. And so they don't solve the problems. And so then the problems accrue. Right, and if they accrue over 15 years of a relationship, then they end up fat, ugly, and in divorce court.
Of course, I get rid of. Are you experiencing disruptions? Find out why. I click on the X, and of course, it stalls out the video. Anyway, I like the point he talked about where they're going to object. When you tell people that there's, especially y'all see it on these panels all the time. You tell somebody they're doing something wrong, they're doing something disruptive. Automatically, they're going to get defensive. You're going to get the anger. You're going to get the proverbial tears. You're going to get that objection. So you have to actually, and this is, it feels terrible to do this. You actually have to keep an account of when people are wronging you, even if you're not going to bring it up immediately, because they're going to require, like he said, the proof. That never happened. I've never done that. That's not what I've said. You're going to have to bring some, everybody asks for the receipts. Bring me the receipts. Show me the receipts. It's really silly, but that's something that people do. Doesn't matter the demographic. That's something, nobody wants to be held accountable. Nobody wants blame. Nobody is going to just take criticism. And did I shout you out, Wireless Woman? This is the Wireless Woman. Thank you for being here. I was on her channel last night. So everybody, please go check out her channel. I think we had a really great conversation. I got her to admit that the patriarchy was not real, that she is going to renounce feminism, and that she does now believe that she needs to advocate for the plight of men. So I got her to completely turn around her platform in one conversation. So I really appreciate everybody that has followed me and Wireless Women's conversations, because she has now given in. I'm lying. Gaslighting. But I think it was a really good conversation. They do need receipts. That's true, because people mostly don't calm down about most situations. So it leaves open. Even years after bringing it up, they get mad all over. Absolutely. Because we take it personally. Risa, we take it very personally when we have disagreements. We don't know how to set them aside, and we don't know how to perspectivize. We don't know where to rank those disagreements. So it'll be something small like, well, you gave my kid fruit snacks after I told you not to. So I take that as a betrayal because you know how I am about my kid. It'll be something small, but we'll turn it into a lifelong grudge match where we don't talk to each other up until somebody dies. And we're like, I really wish I had made up with them. Let's see if this plays now. I'm not sure what okay, let me just see. What we on? It's on 360. Come on now. It's ridiculous. And I know my internet will be fine if I test it. I don't know what it is about YouTube lately. Anyways, he was on my channel being Magneto. Yeah, it was cool though. I think you needed to see and hear what you heard. I think you needed to understand that there was rationale behind the patriarchy and all that feminist rhetoric. It can't stand up to it. So because this is not playing.
So, and that's not a great outcome. It's divorce court and cancer are.
Let me see if it plays without it being shared. Nope. Yeah, so it's YouTube. Let me check my internet. My bad, y'all. My bad. All lies. Now, I think it was a good conversation. Never will I ever join the dark side of the force. You were supposed to be the chosen one. I am the chosen one. The prophecy was misread. The prophecy was misunderstood. I am going to bring balance to the force. Critically, YouTube is lagging on my end. Okay, cool. It's not just me. It's not just me. So I am checking my stats. Give me a moment. Verizon better not let me down. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good over here. Yeah, it's not as high as it usually is. Oh, it's dropping. Ooh, I got unstable internet. Okay. It's moving around. Wow. My internet signal is kind of moving around as much as Wireless Woman's arguments. Ooh, got you back. She was making fun of my beard not connecting, so don't feel bad for the jokes I put on her. Don't feel bad. So, guys, I do not know if this is going to play. I'm going to try it one last time because we only got like a minute left.
But sufficiently often. So when that error emerges, it's a glimmering. Now, we talked a lot about the hierarchical structure of goals, and so here's something to think about. So the thing that announces itself as error has a twofold nature. That's because it's chaos and order at the same time, or it's because it's all the archetypal structures at the same time.
That was a waste. I didn't even need to get that last part in. Anyway, so the thing about what he said, you don't want to automatically blow something out of proportion when there's a disagreement, especially when we're having these panel type conversations. Somebody does something, maybe they cut you off one time, or maybe they keep mischaracterizing your argument one time. This happens in real life too. People don't let you speak, or they keep one-upping you, something along those lines. It rubs you the wrong way. They're intentionally saying your name wrong. That kind of thing just irks you. You may not need to address it immediately. Second time, again, you make note of it. Third time, go ahead and speak up on it. And again, that's just his tactic. I'm not saying you have to employ that. You know your situation and the people around you better than anybody. But it is a thought, because a lot of people who grew up a little bit more passive will never address it. And it causes us mental and emotional damage. And some people address it immediately, and it just causes unnecessary friction when maybe it was a miscommunication or a mistake. But he puts like an arbitrary number. He just put the rule of 3. But it's a safe space where it's like, okay, I've seen a pattern emerge of behavior, and it needs to be addressed before it continues any further. And I think that's what we need to do as people. But that was just the opening video. I do want to get this other one. I don't know how well it'll play, but I thought it was interesting because it'll give language. It'll give language to disagreement. We've seen, especially last week, people will use language that they don't really understand. They don't understand the meaning of. They'll just use words that they feel like they understand because they've heard somebody else use them. So they're regurgitating a word and have internalized the meaning that's not accurate. And even when you give them the new information, they won't change their viewpoint because they're stuck. They're entrenched. So I'm going to pull this lady up. I pray to God and Verizon, my new internet god, that this plays. So what is disagreement? We are going to start very simply, very, very simple. What is a disagreement? We're going to start very simple to build up on this concept. And when my folks show up, we're going to talk about it.
Let's start out with what is disagreement? Disagreement is very simply a difference of opinion based on each person's knowledge, values, perceptions, and point of view.
Now, real quick, I want y'all to notice fact or reality, that's not a disagreement. It's your opinion. You can disagree about opinions. You can disagree about specific pieces of knowledge that you have. Well, I know this one thing. I know this one thing. Values, what you value, what you feel is more important, and each person's perspective. But there are things there are things that are just wrong. We don't have to say we agree to disagree to things that are actually just flat out wrong. Sometimes things are wrong, and it's okay to say that. That is a fair disagreement. That is something that we can call out. We do not have to accept things that are factually, improvably, demonstrably wrong. If we can find the dictionary definition, that's not just a disagreement, that's ignorance. But again, we're going to talk about more of that on Thursday, because I've been in a lot of conversations where I'm disagreeing about something that's provable. So there's no reason to actually disagree, because we can look at something that's firm and unmoving and move from there. That's crazy how often people misuse words. We need to start a word of the day. So absolutely. I promise you. Word of the day. I wanted to do that at one point because the way people were misusing like protection, leader, submission, like that stuff used to annoy me. I got over it. People stopped using it as much. But now the words are changing. Now we don't know other words and we won't accept the definitions as they've evolved over time. But I'm going to let her continue on.
Doesn't mean yours is right or wrong. It just means it's different. And they did experiments with children many years ago in which they had young children stand on either side of a mountain thing. And on one side of the mountain, there was a train coming out of a tunnel. On the other side of the mountain, there was no tunnel, there was no train. When the children were asked what they saw, of course, they assumed that the child on the other side saw what they saw. Ultimately, this helped us understand that, especially in young children, they think egocentrically. That means they think that whatever they think is what the other person has experienced.
Real quick, that's something we've also experienced a lot, not just in children. I do it myself. I'm an adult and I do that myself. We start to assume that everybody knows what we know, think what we think, believe what we believe, and we start to feel a way when we find out they don't. It feels uncomfortable to find out people don't believe in your God. That's one thing that's been a problem. You don't believe in Jesus? A mountain thing. Yeah, that was funny. But it's an important analogy. The first time I heard that explained was two people looking at a can of Pepsi. One person is going to see the logo facing out. The other person is going to see the ingredients. And one person is going to see the barcode, depending on which angle you're coming from. So perspective is different and shapes exactly what you're going to see and your knowledge of a thing. So if I, on the front end of a Coke can, if somebody, Pepsi can, what is a can of Pepsi? I'm going to say, well, it's this nice little logo, red, white, and blue. But you ask the person that's on the back end, they're going to say, well, it's a list of ingredients, because that's all your perspective allows you to see. Both are right, but there is a truth that exists beyond both of our perspectives. And what I want people to stop doing is the truth that exists beyond our perspectives. That's the thing we shouldn't be arguing. That's where a lot of us get hung up. Reminds me of the Gospels in a way. They all witness things from a different perspective. Absolutely.
So, of course, what they must be thinking. Disagreement recognizes that one child didn't even have the opportunity to see a tunnel or a train. And so both children may report very different observations because they saw two very different things. Think of a time you've disagreed with somebody but remained open to listening, and they turned out to have some good points. Exercise. if you've watched other videos of mine, you know I really enjoy exercise. And there's a lot of debate in the exercise community, for example, about whether you should do cardio first or lift weights first, or whether you should do cardio at all. And I have my opinion, but I have friends who have very different opinions. And I have remained open to hearing the facts that they use to inform their decision about what they do and in which order. It doesn't necessarily mean I've changed my approach because I found a way that works for me, but I remain open and I don't criticize them because they found a way that works for them.
That's another important thing to remember. Although somebody may have a fact or a statistic that they abide by, that they agree with, that confirms their position, it does not mean that it will suit your circumstance. A lot of times people will talk about something from a certain perspective, but it may not fit your life exactly. Even with the exercise, something as simple as exercise or finance, it may not fit your a generalization may not fit your specialization. And that's something a lot of people also try to apply on others. Well, it worked for me. It should work for you too. No, it may not. Everybody has specific circumstances that may move them out of the general population, that may make something not work for them. Some people's body composition may make losing or gaining weight harder for them. And everybody doesn't take that into account. I was going to disagree. I was on Bree's panel earlier, and I was disagreeing with Yella because he kind of, I got out of it. But the thing is, because somebody else was successful doing something does not mean everybody can do it. One of the things I disagree with, there's a guy named Sneeko, Red Pill Manosphere. He's like, everybody in America can be a millionaire. No, everybody can't. There are different limits on different people. The general potential for everybody to reach millionaire status is their general potential. But some people do have limitations that would prevent them from getting access to certain things, not just race, but some people's not even their mental capacity would not allow them to utilize technology or to do some other things that would get them access to $1 million. So sometimes general statements just don't apply in specific. And we have to be aware of that too, because that causes a lot of conflict and arguments, disagreements, real life and on panels. They both can be right. I knew I was on the right track regarding perspectives. I can stop ripping up paper now. I was opening to listening, but Rashawn dropped misogyny bombs. Yes. And misogyny is a point of view, wireless woman, the same way your misandry is. But between them, somewhere in lies the truth. The world is not black and white. It's not always about right or wrong. Yep. He was definitely absolutely wrong. Right. There's a belief. Their belief has nothing to do with my reality. I live by that because people always want me to be on their side. Absolutely. 100.
Nutrition is the same way. When I was a young counselor, I remember learning about diagnosis. And diagnosis in mental health is not 100% science. There's a certain art to it because a lot of symptoms overlap and can be caused by a whole myriad of different things. And I remember sitting in clinical meetings, talking with other staff members and debating about different people's actual diagnosis or whether they also had this other additional diagnosis. We didn't get into a heated confrontation. We were just stating our observations and putting it out there to explore. Think of a time you disagreed with someone about how to do something, but both of your solutions had the same outcome. Gardening, another one of those things that I love doing. And there are a lot of different ways to garden. There are no-till methods. There are till methods. There are raised methods. There's hydroponics. And I may not agree with the way one person does it, and they may not agree with the way I do it. They may like their way better than mine. But ultimately, do we produce a similar harvest? And in many of these cases, the answer is yes. Their way is not any more right or wrong than my way. It's just different. And ultimately, we both produce enough food to feed our families. Doing a puzzle.
Now, again, I want to caveat these statements because, again, she's talking about that, sure. We do have to also consider what kind of harvest, if we're talking about crops, but in real life, Matthew 7 in the Bible, judge them by their fruit. or like people, everybody wants to talk about outcomes. What are the outcomes of the position and the opinion that you're putting out there? A lot of people will tell you a million things, but are they living by the thing that they're telling you? And have they seen outcomes from it? Everybody's ready to sell you a dream on everything from weight loss to finance to self-help. Many of them have no work involved. Everybody has a quick path to get you to a solution that sounds great, that all of us want, to be happy, to be healthy. It's all out there. But if it does not require some effort on your part, and they can't demonstrate that they've walked this path themselves to show you an outcome that's suitable and likable to you, it's probably not somebody you should listen to. I'm just, this is my opinion. That's my perspective.
I'm a frame person. I like to put the border together, the frame of the puzzle together, and then fill it in. That's the way I've always done it.
Okay.
My grandmother, on the other hand,
to the next,
just couldn't do that. She thought that it was better to group things according to color.
That's okay. Grandma's good. Grandma's good. We'll leave Grandma alone. Oh, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Gotta love the internet. Come on, Grandma. I shouldn't have clicked off Grandma. It just messed her a little hard up. All right, let's try this again. All right, y'all. Let me see. Not sure why the internet is making this difficult for me today. So this could end up being a short stream, y'all.
It's not whether he does it my way or his way, but whether he gets it done. Recognizing, again, that disagreement just means different points of view. And it's important to really detach from that and recognize that it is a perspective. Impact of unhealthy disagreement. Now, we're going to talk about how disagreement can actually be helpful and healthy. But when disagreement is unhealthy, when it triggers a lot of anxiety and anger and angst, then it's triggering physically that stress reaction, which is going to potentially contribute to inflammation, poor sleep, upset stomach. Disagreement can actually be helpful and healthy. But when disagreement is unhealthy, when it
Wow, when did that happen? Anyway, like I said, you don't know if you don't know. You got to live the experience. Mute it. What I was saying was the impact of unhealthy disagreement. I've talked about this a little bit. There are stress responses. I know the nurses in the channel could talk about all that cortisol. There are chemical responses that happen in your body during unhealthy mental and emotional states. So there's a stress reaction that you have. It releases chemicals in your body. The affective or your emotional state, which is you have preemptive anxiety where you begin to worry about the nature of the disagreement, the outcome of the disagreement. You might have anger. Anger, you're going to be tense, tight, the quick breath and all that stuff. You're going to get hot. Your cognitive impairment, it triggers memories. And she's going to talk about all this, but I wanted to go through the list because I think the list is important. Your mind is going to be racing on different scenarios that are related. Things in what made you tight in the first place. That reminded me when someone so disrespected me. People ain't going to keep playing with me. Y'all ain't going to keep playing with my name. Then there's the relational. It may trigger, again, relational, like how you operate in a social setting. Relational. It may trigger your inner critic. Well, maybe I should just back down. That way I can keep the peace. Or maybe I should just not say anything. Like I said, may result in boundary violations. Maybe you'll allow somebody to walk over your boundaries because you don't want to have to deal with the conflict. And it may harm your relationships, even though there's got a typo there. Might harm relationships. It may harm relationships. So maybe it's somebody that you want or you need. Maybe it's somebody that you rely upon for a need, like maybe you're ill and you have a caretaker family member, and you know that they really don't want to do it, but they're doing it because you're family. You don't want to say the thing that's bothering you, because maybe they'll take their care away. Or it's somebody you are very affectionate towards, and they seem a little cool towards you. So when they disappear on you or turn a cold shoulder to you when you disagree with them, they disappear for a couple of days or go quiet. Or maybe it's somebody you financially need, and you worried about getting put out because you're a homosexual. I'll be there. I've been there. Anyway, maybe that's your situation. So there are lots of reasons why you have negative impacts of conflict that are going through your mind, your emotions, and through your body all at the same time. This stuff actually matters. People will play down the way you feel about a conflict or why are you making it a big deal. It is a big deal. It triggers a lot of different stuff going on in your mind, your heart, and your body all at the same time. This stuff actually is very important to get a handle on, because it can impact every aspect of your life. And if every person is going through this same list of results, or what do you want to call it, conditions from conflict, and it's happening on both sides, well, imagine how much greater the impact is.
Triggers a lot of anxiety and anger and angst, then it's triggering physically that stress reaction, which is going to potentially contribute to inflammation, poor sleep, upset stomach, jaw pain from clenching your teeth, headaches, the whole range of things. Affectively or emotionally, some people have what I call preemptive anxiety. If they know they're getting ready to interact with someone who disagrees with them a lot, or be in a situation in which there might be disagreement, they may, leading up to that event, start having anxiety that disrupts their sleep, that triggers their stress response, that increases their pain. When there is disagreement, they may respond with anger. Now remember, anxiety and anger are the emotions that are associated with the stress response. Fight is associated with anger, and flee is associated with anxiety. So in unhealthy disagreement, people are perceiving a threat for some reason. And it's important to consider exploring disagreement, again, as simply a difference of opinion. Whether somebody likes the color blue better than the color of red. It's as simple as that. Cognitively, unhealthy disagreement can trigger memories and schema or expectations about disagreement that are associated with prior disagreements. So if you've had prior aggressive disagreements, or disagreed with somebody and they broke up with you, or your parents used to disagree a lot and then they got divorced, or there was domestic violence, then disagreement can trigger schema, can trigger memories that tell you that when someone disagrees with you, it's very dangerous. And we're going to talk about how to deal with that a little bit more in a few minutes. And relationally, unhealthy disagreement often triggers the inner critic. The inner critic in you may start saying, you're stupid, you should have known better than that. It may result in boundary violations, either you letting someone else violate your boundaries and tell you how to think or feel or what to do, or you violating somebody else's boundaries and telling them how to think, what they should feel, or what they should do. Whenever you start hearing shoulds, that's often an indication of boundary violations. And it can harm relationships. When you are in unhealthy disagreements, sometimes it can contribute to feeling that the other person does not respect you. So why is disagreement stressful? Well, think about, what have you been taught about disagreement? Have you been taught that disagreement is healthy and it's okay? Or have you been taught that it is not okay to disagree? Or if somebody is disagreeing with you, it's about you versus about whatever topic you're disagreeing on? Do you have prior trauma surrounding disagreement that's being triggered when people disagree with you in the present? I'm alluded to that on the last slide. If you have been in relationships or where there was domestic violence, whether it was your parents or your personal relationships. When disagreement happened, a lot of times it probably ended up spiraling into something that became verbally or physically threatening.
I just wanted to pause it real quick because I wanted to, what have you been taught about disagreement? A lot of us learn about disagreement through the way our family life as children, what we saw, how we saw disagreement handled. I know my mother had a very like domineering style, so that's why I cite as myself as coming out passive, because of course, mother reigns supreme. So I didn't really have a safe space to have disagreement, or my grandmother. You get popped in the mouth for talking back. You couldn't really have a disagreement with the authority figures when I came up. Now, though, there are other considerations that I see she didn't put on. There are gender dynamics to disagreement too. But let me read this comment. I had an unhealthy disagreement yesterday. I wanted a triple cheese bacon burger with a side of wings. Doctor told me no. That's actually a worthwhile disagreement to have. And hopefully you won. Hopefully you did not listen to the doctor's perspective. His perspective is different than yours. Doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. You should have had the triple cheese bacon burger with a side of wings, in my opinion. So that's 2-1. We outvote him. Have it today if you didn't have it yesterday. Just kidding. But what I wanted to say about the gender, learning disagreement through gender, what I found unfortunate is sometimes because women's place in the world, they get dismissed. Their ideas and their opinion gets kind of dismissed or belittled or seen as silly, irrational. So sometimes if you have a disagreement with a woman, she'll go to the place of either retreating because she's used to it, or having to prove herself because she believes you're trying to belittle or dismiss. And then for men, one thing that we do, for some reason, disagreeing with us is seen as an automatic sign of disrespect. I'm not sure why. Sometimes disagreeing with a guy is automatically disrespectful. And I'm not sure why it goes there. Because sometimes it's not even about them. You're disagreeing about some event or a thing or some other person altogether, but it's seen as a sign of disrespect. And you'll see them get hot and contentious. The genre for tonight's verses, the first one is Caribbean music, and the second one is world music. And again, this was supposed to have been in Black History Month, so we're focusing on, Black. It was supposed to be in Black, but I skipped that 1 week. That was on me. So Caribbean is the first category, and the next category is world. So I would even put gender dynamics and disagreement into this list that she has. There are probably even generational disagreements, because sometimes you'll say something as a I'm Gen X. So as a Gen Xer, I'll say some things and it translates differently to people that are younger than me. It also translates differently to people that are older than me. So there are a lot of different things that blend into your identity and cause disagreement. Let me see. What is that? We Black, we late. Makes sense.
And so disagreement may trigger those memories. It's important to recognize that and understand when your stuff from the past is being triggered in the present. At that point, you can stop and get grounded and start recognizing, in this context, at this point in time, am I safe? Is this the same as that situation, or is it different? It's important to explore what it means when people disagree with you. What does it mean to you when people disagree with you? Or again, we're going to talk more about that as we go through this. And I hope to encourage you to consider reevaluating your perception of disagreement as something that needs to be hostile or intrusive.
And
what does
again,
it mean if you're wrong?
That's healthy, unhealthy. She's talking about disagreement, healthy and unhealthy. But I do want to point out, because this is where I've landed as far as myself. Everything doesn't have to be personal, a personal disagreement. But sometimes you do have to have like a professional or social disagreement. Sometimes the disagreement is necessary. And it might be contentious. It might have to be because something needs to be fixed. If something is broken or non-functional in a dynamic or relationship, we may have to, like Jordan Peterson said in the last video, you might let it slide a couple of times, but if there's a pattern, it has to be addressed. And I think there are several things that have to be addressed. Even though we disagree, it still needs to be spoken on. And the people that are listening or watching can make their own decisions about what's right or wrong or best for them. But in my opinion, because of this nature of disagreement and not wanting to be unliked or not wanting to have a conflict or whatever the reason is, we have a million reasons why we don't want to confront things. There are a lot of things unconfronted and unnamed and unspoken in our households, in our communities. And I think we need to move into disagreement in a non-personal way, but a more direct way that's intentional and thoughtful. So what she's talking about, like why is it stressful? Because of our triggers and emotional states and things we've gone through. Trying to divorce ourselves from that is what I'm talking about, so that we can actually take stuff head on without taking it personal. It's not about Rashawn when I disagree. It's about the idea. We need to be able to disagree. And I can't stand it either, because a lot of times I do believe there is I won't even say right or wrong, but there's a better. I don't understand why sometimes we won't pursue the better of the two options. Why would somebody stay in one of the lesser of the two options? Yeah, I was going to say that the other day. I left a comment on your video and you responded. It gave me hope for the next generation. And I was like, boy, I'm not the next generation. I'm the last one. Yep, Gen X, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But let me get back to her.
Wrong. Have you been wrong before? I know I've been wrong before.
I've never been
Does it
wrong
mean
before.
I'm dumb? Does it mean I'm a bad person? No. It means I was wrong. I made a mistake. I'm fallible. How can being wrong be a growth opportunity? So if I have a perspective about something and someone else has a different perspective and we disagree on it, yet I remain open to hearing their point of view, and then I start getting some knowledge that I didn't have before, it can help inform me.
I like that, Sam.
So I can make a decision about whether to change my point of view. Doesn't mean I have to,
One key to
but
unlock.
it means I'm
Not
gathering
one
more
key.
knowledge that may shape my decision making.
And that's why I think open-mindedness is so important. That's why I try to be open-minded. I'll listen. But when reason breaks down, that's why I had that whole thing last week about stupid. When logic and reason breaks down, the perspective no longer holds validity. If it's something that cannot be rationalized, reasoned through, followed step by step, and replicated, like the scientific method, if the idea can't be followed to a logical conclusion, the disagreement is one of, for me, useful information versus just, opinion or talk. I can't. There are too many people listening to people spouting nonsense, and it sounds valid because they're confident. They say the things authoritatively, or they have a large platform. But unfortunately, there's a lot of bad information that's getting passed on, and I hear people regurgitating it, and it's so sad. But let me read this chat. I thought you were 12. Didn't know you're Benjamin Button. Yeah. What's up, Mr. He Said? Peace to the family. Salute to Rashawn in the chat. Appreciate you for coming through. Definitely, we're talking a little bit about conflict. But yeah, Mr. He Said had a masterpiece on Saturday and Sunday because he stepped in for the wife as well. Vibe is chill. Vibe is cool. Again, just chopping it up about conflict. What is conflict? The negative aspects of conflict. Now we're on to why is disagreement stressful. And I'm trying to just balance out the lady because she's coming from a very perspective, because I'm trying to tie in real life, but also the way we see people handle this online space. Sometimes conflict is necessary. We're trying to get away from the we can agree to disagree, because sometimes people are actually wrong. And even if they're not wrong, sometimes their stance is so harmful or dysfunctional that it doesn't hold any value to hold on to it. But we anchor down, we dig our feet in, whatever the terminology you use. But we do that a lot. We'll stake our claim on some bad information.
How can disagreement be positive? And I know this seems counterintuitive, but it really can be positive. When everybody agrees, then it creates this situation that some people call groupthink. When everybody agrees, then nobody is looking for alternate explanations. Nobody's looking for alternate perspectives or alternate ways of doing things. Disagreement actually encourages growth. It encourages people to step back and be more objective, to consider different opportunities, to consider ways to synergize. So disagreement often promotes growth, because a lot of times when people disagree, they can recognize the valid points that each other has and figure out ways to synergize. If disagreement triggers anger, it's important to check the facts in the present context. Are you assuming the person is judging or trying to control you? A lot of times when people disagree with us, we start automatically get defensive because we're triggering those prior schema, those prior experiences. And we think, oh my gosh, that person's trying to control me or judge me, and they may reject me. All of that is very threatening.
What's up, Danique, Von, Eric? Hello, gentlemen.
However, 90% of the time, you're making an assumption about what the other person is thinking.
Yes.
So it's important to get grounded and think to yourself, are they really trying to control me, or are they just offering their opinion? Are you objectively safe? Remember, I said it can trigger memories from the past. So think.
And real quick, something you can watch for it too, because I've noticed that. Not only is there a lot of negative assumption, so they'll start assuming what your position is without you having stated it, especially like panel conversations. Real life too. I had this with my family. This was a big thing in my family. Everybody assumes what your intent is based on what they believe you to be. But another thing to watch out for is if they don't make their points. Like she's talking about people sharing perspective. I mean, I share my perspective, you share your perspective, and then maybe we inquire, we ask questions of each other's perspective, try to clarify. What happens, you'll see happen a lot. People will ask a question to try to lead you into like paint you into a corner. They'll ask you like a loaded question to try to get you to back into some space that doesn't even represent what you believe. It tried in an attempt to make you look bad or to look like you're in some camp that they're trying to, I really hate that. If you have a point to make, just make the point. Like stand on your point that you believe. You have a perspective to even shape your question. Just state that point instead of asking people questions, try to walk them into your point. Now, if you're trying to get somebody to clarify, because I've had to do that sometimes, that's one thing. But some people use that as a tool all the time. Every conversation, they ask dishonest questions to try to lead you into like a verbal trap, to try to make you contradict yourself. Sometimes, again, it is a useful tool to get people to hear themselves say something so that you can repeat it back to them. But a lot of people use it dishonestly to try to walk you into a trap. So listen to people asking you questions instead of just making their point. That's an annoying thing. Great day, Rashawn. Doing it, Dave, and critically drinking. Blessings to the chat party and all tune in, man. Appreciate you. I appreciate you. Appreciate you.
In this current context, if you're disagreeing with somebody, are you objectively safe from physical harm, from emotional harm? And sometimes the answer may be no. And if that's the case, then it's important to, take steps to get safe. But most of the time, we are objectively safe. Even if somebody gets upset because we don't share the same opinion, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to reject us. It may mean that they are feeling threatened themselves. How is this situation different than other prior unsafe disagreements? When you disagreed in an unsafe environment, or when you were in an environment where people were disagreeing and it became unsafe. How is this?
Now, I do want to point out something, because she kind of mentioned like people won't reject you. A lot of people, this is just like sociology. A lot of people will not disagree until somebody's like, if there's a group and somebody pitches an idea, that first person to disagree is typically the most courageous. Like, it's really hard to disagree when everybody's going along. It's really hard to disagree in that moment. But once that first person does, it makes it easier for every subsequent person to disagree. It's a really strange thing, but I've seen it happen in meetings. But the other thing is, with men, I'm not gonna say for some reason, we know why. Men have a hard time disagreeing with women, and I'll say there are two reasons in specific. In a direct relationship, a lot of times we're afraid to disagree or be disagreeable because we don't want to lose access. That one's obvious. But the other one, it's not like, even in a group setting, what I've seen lately are men are afraid to confront women or women's positions because they're afraid of like social cancellation. They're worried of the cancel culture. They're afraid of it. I was watching, we were on a conversation with Wireless Woman. She had played a video and the guy was like, he was getting ready to criticize women and he had to preface it. Well, we on the left, we don't like to say this, but everybody's afraid to say anything that might look negatively on women. It's real. I've seen men do it so many times. They're so afraid. It's the strangest thing. I mean, I get it. I'm not saying I don't get it, but I don't get staying there. Eventually, everybody's got to face criticism. If the position does not make sense, we got to look at it. No matter who it is, no matter how much we like them, how much we need them, eventually we're going to have enough. We have to have enough courage to speak up for our side of a perspective, no matter what it is, men or women, boy or girl. Everybody's got to have their say.
This situation different? How is this person with whom you're disagreeing different?
Mm-hmm.
Does the topic represent something you feel threatened about? When we start talking about, politics and religion, especially, a lot of people feel very threatened that if I don't change this person's mind, it means that I'm going to lose control and they are going to force me to change. So if I don't change their mind, then they're going to change mine. And it doesn't have to be that way.
At all.
I don't have to change anybody else's mind. I can hold to my opinion and respect their difference of opinion. We can agree to disagree. And that doesn't always feel 100% satisfying.
It's not.
But it is respectful to recognize that other people may have very different opinions about things. Maintaining composure. When someone disagrees with you, first step, breathe, get into your wise mind. So do that stress breathing that we've talked about before. Breathe in for a count of 6, hold for a count of 6, and exhale for a count of 6. And you don't have to do it like all demonstratively to make a big scene out of it. You can do it where nobody sees what you're doing. But when you slow your breathing, it triggers that rest and digest. It triggers that relaxation response. So you can stop flooding your system with adrenaline and start getting back into your wise mind where you can think clearly. So breathe. Couple of slow, deep breaths often, can help you get your composure. Repeat to yourself, in your own head, everybody has the right to their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You have the right to yours. You wouldn't want somebody taking away your right to have your opinion. Well, nobody else wants their right to their opinion taken away either. So remembering, everybody has the right to their opinion. You may not agree with it. You may think it's completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
However,
First to disagree
it's
is the
their
villain.
right to hold it. Be mindful of the facts in the present context.
And that's the thing. Even if there's somebody is dead wrong, they have the right to be wrong. We can't force them to be right. It just doesn't make sense to stay wrong or to stay ignorant. But it's their right. It's their life. But boy, can't always have them in your group, which is why we voted Simon off the island. The results of that poll was no, overwhelmingly. So Simon will not be getting unblocked.
Context. Are you safe? Are you having a discussion where your boundaries are being respected? Separate rejection of your point of view from rejection of you.
That's important. Don't take
And I'm
it
going to say
personal.
that again. Separate rejection of your point of view from rejection of you.
And that's hard.
You can disagree with somebody and they can vehemently disagree with your point of view. It doesn't mean that they are necessarily rejecting you as a person. They may reject your thought, but they're not rejecting you. Parents disagree with their children a lot. That's part of the growth process.
Now, real quick, I'm going to tie that to a conversation we've had, because that's the distinction AR was making when he was saying, I reject what they do. I'm not rejecting the person. That's the distinction that AR was making. My, which I completely understood. I completely understood in the Bible that they say in the church all the time, love the sinner, hate the sin. I understood that perfectly. But the second thing is, once you have made that distinction, but you say, because of that that thought that I'm rejecting, that thing that's in your head that I'm rejecting, I also am rejecting your body from entering my space because of the thought that the mind carries, then you're bringing them back together, because people can't take their mind out and sit it outside, and they can go ahead and enter and interface with their family. So if you say something in the mind is being rejected, so the whole person has to stay away, you're in effect rejecting the entire person. So again, I understood AR's point, but I want to link that back. A lot of time, if you reject somebody wholeheartedly because of what's like, they're a Democrat, so you don't want any Democrats coming to dinner, or they're conservative, you don't want any Trump supporters. If you reject their beliefs to the point that you reject any allowance of them being in your space, it doesn't even matter at that point. They're tied together. Let me see, what does that say? I think when people have different views to bring to the conversation, it keeps ideas fresh. Absolutely. But we need to understand, though, just because it's different doesn't mean that it's beneficial or helpful. Sometimes we fall into that trap. Well, it's different. Yeah, that's cool. I get it. Difference and diversity, but some thoughts actually are harmful. If somebody introduced, let's jump off the cliff, without a parachute or a bungee cord, it's different. Nobody's proposed that to us before, but it's not useful. You know what I'm saying? It's not really going to help anybody. So, I mean, we have to actually have the wisdom to look at what people are saying and evaluate it, not just accept it. But thank you, Dawn. I appreciate that.
I may disagree with my kids. I may reject their point of view or their thesis on something, but I'm not rejecting them. I love them. And it's important to be able to separate the two of those things. If you're going into a holiday gathering and you know that you're going to encounter people who share different points of view, recognize
It's a big
that
one.
you are respecting and loving them and potentially rejecting their point of view. And they have the right to do the same thing to you. They can love you and reject your point of view. Now, you also may want to consider.
They got to come to dinner, though. They got to come to the house. That's where the distinction happens.
The setting. Is it an appropriate place to bring up certain things? Sometimes at family gatherings, it's better to let certain things not come up. But when they do come up, again, remind
Absolutely,
yourself,
Quantum.
They're rejecting my thought or my point of view. They're not.
Yes, having the space to have those different ideas is key. That is how we get to determine what is beneficial or not, by listening. Yes, you listen, respect the person, allow them to state their opinion, and if you disagree, you voice it. We also have to get to a place where people that we've had long-standing relationships with or have worked with or been around long enough, we should be able to challenge a thought that they have. There should be a point where somebody is not so new and unfamiliar to you that we cannot challenge their ideas that they propose. If we're that sensitive after being around somebody for a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, that we can still not approach any sensitive conversation about disagreement, it's not a real relationship. If you cannot disagree with the person after knowing them for a long time, the relationship is faulty. It's built on something weak or feeble. Because if it can't withstand critique or criticism of an idea that the person holds, I would question everything at that point. Different ideas is a great thing. We are not robots. We all have different minds. Absolutely. And I think we all grow from the composition of all of our best ideas. The composition of all of our best ideas is what makes us great. But unfortunately, we're curating a lot of really poor ideas and bringing those to the forefront. So composing all of our worst ideas, you end up with a lot of trash, man. That's a landfill. Bringing all of our worst ideas together is a landfill.
Not rejecting me. Embrace the dialectics. What does that mean? That means the good with the bad. Both of you may be right from a certain point of view.
And that's important.
Like
too.
doing a puzzle. We're both going to get the puzzle put together, but I need to put the frame together first. I have a hard time doing it if I don't put the frame together first. And my grandmother was the opposite. We were both right from a certain point of view. Gardening, every gardening approach has its strengths and its weaknesses. Both of us.
And real quick, I would use different language than she used. It's not that they were both right. They were just both capable. They were both functional. They both function differently. I don't think there is a right and a wrong way to put together a puzzle, even if it's like putting the pieces in backwards where all you see is the cardboard. It really doesn't matter. There's no real life utility. So sometimes we'll put too much onus on right or wrong for things that are inconsequential, do not matter to anybody. I'm trying to think. I know there's something in this, especially in this conversation space. There was last year there was a conversation about, will you make your man a plate? There was a whole big old thing about making your man a plate. Inconsequential. As an adult, we all know how to eat and feed ourselves. I know there's a sense of value about being served and caring and, but it's inconsequential for adults that know how to feed themselves and have hands that can put food in their mouth. So sometimes we'll talk about a right or a wrong way to do something that's just our preference, and we'll try to make it a right or a wrong. But is it what's functional? Are you functional? Are you functionally able to eat, consume food, and pass it? That's what's most important. So sometimes, again, she's like, there's a right way. There's no the right way. We just had different ways of doing the puzzle. It wasn't right or wrong. There is a lot of times there's not a right or wrong. It's just functional and non-functional, functional or dysfunctional. And sometimes we need to make that distinction sometimes. Functional versus dysfunctional versus right or wrong. Making a plate feels nice when you want to do it. And making a plate feels nice when you want it, haven't done. But sometimes, what if you were full and then somebody brings you a full plate? And now you have that, the conflict. Well, Dad, do I want to make a big deal and tell them I don't want to do it? Maybe they'll be bothered the fact that I don't want to eat their food. Maybe they'll think I think it's nasty because I didn't want seconds. So all of this stuff is about perspective. So we need what's the utility? What's the function? Because somebody bringing you a plate could actually be a problem. What if you really just didn't like the food and you ate that first plate just out of sheer not wanting to offend them, and now they bring you a second plate? Oh, you got to have seconds. So I think we need to change our minds to going from right to wrong to what's most functional. What works best? What will help me have a better relationship? What will help me have a better life? What will help me raise better children? If it's not functional, if it doesn't have utility, if it doesn't produce, why worry so much about it? We worry about a lot of things that do not produce for us, that don't do anything for us. We worry about a lot. No thanks, I'm not hungry. I ate last week. Oh, but Risa, you gotta have seconds. No, you gotta have this plate. At least let me pack it to go for you. Let me put some foil on this.
Are right from a certain point of view. Leave your baggage in the closet until you can unpack it. What do I mean by that? I mean that we all have prior experiences in which disagreement was unpleasant at the very least. it's important to not hold the current person
Oh my God.
accountable and hostage
Accountable
for the
and
way somebody
hostage.
else reacted.
Oh my God.
Recognize
Man, we talk about all that emotional terrorism. Jesus Christ. Do not hold me accountable, and don't hold me hostage to what somebody else did to you. Well, the last person, when they didn't eat my plate, they that man, listen. Do not judge me by my activity. If I've never done anything wrong to you, let it stand at that. Let my account be my account. Do not have me pick up somebody else's credit. Please don't put that on me. Don't put their bill in my name. Do not put their bill in my name. I'm sorry. I don't want any. I'm full. Thank you. But no, thank you. I'm with you, Reese. I'm with you. But man, do not hold me hostage to what somebody else did to you. Man.
that you're feeling anxiety because of what somebody else did in the past, but don't assume the person in the present is going to react the same way. Recognize their motives, and this can be really hard, but it's important when you're taking that deep breath to try to think to yourself, is this person trying to be helpful? Sometimes they're disagreeing with you because they think that you don't have all of the information and they want to help you make what they perceive as the right decision. They're not trying to criticize you. They're trying to be helpful. So are they trying to be helpful? Are they trying?
Even if it's misguided, they may be trying to be helpful, and it may be a misguided trying to help. And we be taking that stuff personal. Like, I know some of y'all have kids, and somebody be trying to be helpful and tell y'all something about raising kids. You be like, I've been raising kids for a while, right? I know how to do this. Like, we're trying to play me like I'm stupid. But I think sometimes we could give an allowance for somebody that's trying to be helpful, even if it's misguided or thoughtless. But, I just want to say that.
Trying to avoid losing control or save face. Sometimes people will disagree with you because they feel threatened that you have a different point of view.
Man, yes. Oh my God. People will double down to save face. They do not want to look bad, so they have to stand on their square. I don't know why we're so egotistical that we cannot back down. If it's kind of proven that our position is wrong, my God. Because I said all that. Because some people can't take no for that. That's true. Risa, that is totally true. And they'll be offended that you actually said no. And that's what she talked about earlier about conflict. You have to make sure your boundaries don't get crossed because you really may not have wanted that plate. And that's okay. And it's also fair for you because nobody's entitled to your thoughts. If you really thought the food was nasty and you didn't feel like you wanted to share that, they can't force that out of you. And they can't force their food into you. So there's a lot of boundary policing that we have to do. I'm guilty of that. It happens. A lot of it, we all have different, not only do we have different thoughts, we have different personality styles. So some of us are conflict averse. We don't want conflict. So we'll say nice things to avoid conflict. Some people are just full blown. I'm going to say whatever I got to say. No filter. And most of us are going to be somewhere in between. And we might move back and forth depending on the person, the situation. And all of that is natural. But we judge ourselves kind of harshly for the way we move. No matter which end of the spectrum, everybody kind of like wishes we were a little different. But it's okay. And be you, accept who you are, as long as you're not trying to be harmful. That's the way I operate anyway. That's my perspective. Try not to be harmful intentionally. But sometimes sometimes you may do something with intention that is going to cause harm. So don't do harm. I want to hurt you, but I may need to do something with intention, but I know it's going to harm you. Like an amputation. Somebody may need to amputate. I know what I'm doing with intention is going to cause you harm, but you don't just go around just chopping people's legs off. I mean, y'all kind of see the distinction I'm trying to make. So you may have to punishing a child. I know you're not going to like having your device taken away from you. That's going to hurt you, but I'm doing it with an intention of an outcome. That's what I'm saying. But you don't go around bullying kids and taking stuff from them. So I'm trying to make that distinction and keep it. Someone could be hungry. I know. I want to eat it.
And
I'm going to finish this section and we're going to wrap up because my people, they weren't coming through. That's cool. I'm going to make this a short one because since I do have that second stream, I can get up out of here and we can do that thing tonight.
And sometimes they may even initiate disagreements in order to try to make sure that they have control. But again, that's more about them than it is about you. It's about them trying to avoid losing control. It's about their threats and their insecurities. It has much less to do with you. Recognizing their motives can be helpful because it can help you reconceptualize what's going on as not an attack on you. You know, even if they're trying to avoid losing control, if they're trying to keep control, that's about them and their response to feeling threatened. Respect boundaries,
Risa.
yours and theirs.
Man, yes.
Physically.
Okay. My
don't-
God. Thank you. I'm so glad she said that. I'm so glad she said that. Because a lot of times we do this very one way. I want my boundaries respected, but then I violate your boundaries. And another thing people do is they extend their boundaries so far out. And I'll make a correlation to the LGBT conversation we've been having. I'll extend my boundaries so far out that they violate your boundaries. And since I did play a little bit of Jordan Peterson, one of the things he's compelled speech is one of those things. If I have to address you a certain way based upon the way you're saying, I'm Lisa. That's my boundary. I will be called Lisa. That's my boundary. My name is now Lisa. You're going to call me Lisa. But instead of you being able to just leave me alone, I can compel you to have to call me Lisa instead of just calling me ma'am or whatever. That kind of stuff is a boundary enforcement that's being pushed on somebody else. I don't agree with stuff like that. That's probably not something that happens too often. Most people in real life and not theoretical space, if they deal with each other, they probably are comfortable with each other enough to honor each other's pronouns or new names and stuff like that. Very few reasonable people don't just call people what they wish to be called. Very few. But in theoretical space, if I can make a decision today that I want to be something different, and I enforce all of you, I try to make all of you readjust to my new reality, that's a boundary for me that goes into somebody else's boundary. You're starting to push into other people's yards, forcing their speech, their behavior, their thoughts to align with yours. That's a problem for me. But again, that's in the theoretical space. I've never met, like I said, I've never met too many reasonable people that had somebody in their face to face, that had a problem addressing the person how they wish to be called, because most people just are respectful people. And if you say your name is Lisa, okay, Lisa, or ma'am or sir, most people really don't. It's inconsequential. To my point earlier, it's inconsequential. We got Candid Ann in the building.
Hey, you're doing good. So I didn't need to jump in, but I'm gonna go ahead and listen to the rest of it because I do have a question for you.
Okay.
But this is great.
She actually just got to the end. I wanted to listen to the part I was going to end it at, but I'm gonna let this last part play. This is about, let me see, 2 minutes, because when she got to the boundaries part, it just triggered something. Hey, hello, mother. Hello. All right, let me let that play.
Don't glare at them. Try to keep an open posture. And that means don't stand there with your arms crossed and looking at them down your glasses. You know, keep an open posture. Try to remind yourself to keep your hands at your sides or maybe in your pockets. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what to do with your hands, but ultimately you don't want to look like you're angry. Don't take an aggressive posture. If you're sitting down and you start having an argument, don't stand up, because then the other person will stand. That is an escalation of the threat response.
You about to
So
stand
try
up over
to
me?
keep a relaxed posture and maintain a calm and curious tone of voice. Affectively, both of you feel how you feel. There are no shoulds. Remember, I said shoulds often indicate a boundary violation. You feel angry, you feel anxious, you feel depressed, you feel happy, you feel ambivalent.
Hey,
It is how you feel.
hey, somebody time my mama out real quick. Time my mama out. Bye, mama. I'm joking. Let me go ahead and I ain't gonna play you like that. Thank you for coming. Actually commenting, mother. Appreciate that.
Telling somebody else how to feel is a violation of their boundary. Them telling you how to feel, telling you to calm down or get over it, that's a violation of your boundaries. Recognize how you feel and own it. And then you can choose what to do with it. And you can choose when you de-escalate, when you let it go. Don't think in your head, well, you don't think I can do anything right. That you're assuming something. Maybe they think you do a lot of things right.
You think I'm stupid.
However, they think they might have additional information that can help you in this particular area. Again, a lot of times people are trying to be helpful.
A lot of times. But what I'm getting ready to do, so you can see the full video, because I'm not going to finish it. Let me go ahead. I am going to copy this, drop it in here. Any time somebody wants to finish that in their own leisure, they can. There's not much left on that, but you may want to see the entire thing. I skipped the intro, and then I'm skipping the outro and one other segment. So feel free. I'm OG Patrice in the building. Hello, hello. Yeah, don't time mama out. Sweet timing mama out. She used to put me in timeout. Now she got to go to timeout.
My question to you is this, right? As we were listening to this video, which I thought was a great video, but one of the things that I do as a nurse is this doesn't take into consideration culture. And I think that we really got to realize that we're living in a melting pot. And so what you might deem as respectful conversation, another person might feel like you are ignoring them. You're having a flat affect. You are, our passionate way of speaking might be perceived as anger. Our quiet demeanor might be perceived as you don't care. You're just not saying anything. I mean, one person might be trying to be respectful because that's their culture. So I just want people to realize that this is just one way of respectful conversation. We also have to take family dynamics within the household into consideration. Outside of that, bigger community, we take culture into consideration. And outside of that, we take, the law of the land into consideration. It's really important because amongst family, you can get away with some jokes and we have an understanding. But so when we're listening to this lady, I think she made a lot of valid points. But when she started getting into, don't fold your hands, don't do this, don't do that, right? We got to take into consideration that might be respectful to someone. And so we got to don't listen to this with a grain of salt. There's a lot of value in what she has to say, but also look at the person in front of you and take into consideration their background and their culture, because the perception might be off simply because we have a very, what did she say? A self, like we think that everyone
egocentric.
Yes, that we have an egocentric way of thinking. Right. So that's all I want to add to it. But I thought she made some great points. I love how she talked about everything that I like, child. She talked about gardening, jigsaw puzzles, health. I was like, oh, girl. So I love that. I loved it. But yeah, that's all I wanted to add to the conversation, because this was great. This was a great monologue, and I was letting you rock. I was like, man, you don't need nobody up here. This was great.
I thought we were supposed to wait for the video.
Me too.
I thought we was, because she was making some good points. I would just say, don't argue with stupid people. Because they are unable to do anything that is mentioned in this video, especially removing their idiotic selves from the equation. So my advice is don't argue with stupid people. Once you start to get a whiff of stupid in the air, just let them have it.
And I would go back to just bring back that rule of 3 from Jordan Peterson. Like, I wouldn't address it immediately until somebody establishes a pattern of like boundary stepping or line crossing. Like he said, on that third time, he's kept account of the first 2. He made a note of it. But the third time, he has to speak up for himself. And you recite the first 2. And even though they're going to give you pushback, like anger or tears, you still got to stand on that, because now you know it's a real thing. But then on the flip side, I would also say a rule of 3. I try to give people 3 opportunities. Like once I've approached it, and I'll say, okay, this is what's going on. No, this is what's going on. You're wrong. This is what's going on. Now I'm going to tap out, because I can only go around a couple of times before I'm out. Y'all saw it on that Friday stream or whatever it was, me and AR. There's only a couple of times I'm going to have that exact same line of dialogue. And if you can't accept it, if you can't accept my experience or what I'm saying, and you can't like acknowledge it, then the conversation stops. We can debate about some points of it, but if you can't acknowledge my experience or what I'm seeing or saying, if it can't even be acknowledged as real that I'm experiencing it, then nothing I'm going to say after that would make any sense.
Facts. I think that's the hardest part about arguing. I think arguing I think arguing on like panels, sometimes we have these conversations and people are arguing points.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a little easier for me, at least. Like, I think that people are just like, we're just here to have a discussion. So some people can like depersonalize it from that, I think. But I know in relationships, the art of debate or argument is usually very muddied.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think some of these tips can help people, because I find that people struggle more so with arguing in relationships, I think, than maybe where's the low stakes on here. Where's the low stakes online when you're just talking about some stuff like Candy and be saying like, I'm already married off and I be making money. So I mean, at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to be losing no sleep over no argument on YouTube. But I do think our interpersonal relationships, a lot of these tips also work for that too. So.
Yeah, definitely. Like when she was talking about like when someone's talking to you, don't stand up. I was like, that's so strange, because I was taught that's respectful. It's disrespectful that someone comes into the room standing and you continue sitting down looking like, I was taught to get up and be respectful, stand up and have a conversation, engage, so it's just really interesting how, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you start talking and arguing with me standing up and I'm sitting down, like, I'm gonna be like, can you sit down?
No, not arguing,
Right.
but I mean, like if someone comes into a room and is trying to have a regular conversation while I'm sitting down and distracted, I don't know. I find it to be more engaging when I stand up and talk to you but I don't really argue with people. So if you're talking about arguing, I guess you're 100% right. Because that shows like we're bucking, right? But I just meant like the idea of like standing up to meet you where you're at, eye to eye.
Yes, when disagreements lead to arguing points, is that due to someone taking it personally? What do you ladies think?
Leads to arguing points? Like, what would be like when people just keep reciting the same point or something? Like, what would lead to arguing points? Like, because a disagreement is different points of opinion, and so you're both making your statement about your point of view. Right. Which up until that point, I don't think it's necessarily, I mean, that's just what makes a disagreement or an argument. I have a point of view, you have a point of view, they don't match. So we're now arguing our points of view, right?
Yeah, the way I'm seeing it though, I feel like there's a disagreement about something specific. Like somebody said something or did something. But what I notice typically happens in a conflict, then you start going down a rabbit trail of points behind that. Instead of addressing the original thing, you end up, well, but then you did this thing. Well, why would you bring that up? You only bring that up because of this thing. So it's like you end up like breadcrumbing away from the original point and never actually handling the disagreement. You end up bringing out all these. I mean, that's how I'm reading the question, but I could be off.
Yeah, like basically, like they've gotten defensive. Basically, like the person is defensive. I mean, yeah, that's probably true. So like, I mean, there's to some degree to it is like, well, it's me and you talking, especially in a relationship. It's probably personal, right? Like, I mean, if I'm having an argument with you about something you did to me, this shit is personal. So, I mean, to some degree, I mean, you have to expect some level of defensiveness, all like just automatically. Like if you're telling somebody that you experience them in a negative way, they're gonna get defensive. Whether it's because they don't feel like it's true, or like me and Candy were saying yesterday, an apology thing, because I didn't intend to do that. So they're going to probably try to argue their point. So I think it just depends. Like on a collegiate or school level or debate team level, you wouldn't take it personally. So you wouldn't do that. But I feel like when you're talking about relationships, like, yeah, it's personal. Like, how can it not be?
I think it can not be. Because sometimes it's about something that's not really you. I think we I don't want to use this word wrong, but we embody things that are not us.
Right.
Like you're criticizing the way I wash the dishes. It's the dishes. You're not the dishes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we'll take it really personal that, well, you got a problem with the way I wash dishes, then you need to. Well, I just had an observation about the way you wash dishes. I don't like it that way, but it didn't have to be a thing. But you embodied the dishes in that moment. You know, like I think we do a lot of that.
That's
sometimes.
hard for people to do. Yeah, I say my mom do that when I like comment on anything. It's like, oh, why don't you come do it? It's like, I'm not trying to do that. So I mean, I guess I get it. It don't have to be, but let's be realistic. I just feel like in my experience, I don't feel like anybody does that. I don't feel like most people do that. Like if they have the role of doing the set thing and you criticize the set thing, it's almost like, well, I'm the only motherfucker in the house doing it. So I mean, you got to be talking about me. Like I don't like if I'm the only one that ever washes the dishes, y'all ain't just gonna be talking about how the dishes ain't clean and stuff. Oh, y'all talking to me? Y'all got something to say to me then? Because I'm right here. If I'm the only one doing the dishes. So I mean, I just feel like to some degree, I mean, it's not realistic.
Yeah, like what my mama said. It a lot of times it is in the back. The thing that they embody and take personal, like the lady in the video also said, it comes from something they've experienced in the past. You know, we say trauma a lot on the YouTubes. It's like something in their history that makes them like, oh, well, criticism. Like maybe you had a critical mother or critical father. So when you hear criticism, it automatically becomes personal, as opposed to just criticism or feedback. So I think a lot of times that does have something to do with the baggage that you come with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it. I mean, once again, I love what she said, but I'm just like, realistically, if you start dragging your girl about something she always do, if you start talking about how this laundry ain't really clean, and she the only one who doing the laundry, I mean, she gonna take it personal. She don't have to. She don't have to. I'm not saying she got to. And if she mature, she can get past it. But like, I mean, if I'm the only one doing it, my pride is on the line because I'm here washing these dishes, right? So I mean, I feel like that's kind of where it happens. It's like I take pride in what I do. You gonna come at the task, but my pride is attached to the task. So now it's personal in that way. And I wish that wasn't the case, but I know my husband then came at me about something that I be doing, like, oh, he don't like the way I load the dishwasher. To this day, he don't like the way I load the dishwasher. Because I refuse to not take it personally. Mm-hmm. We not even gonna have this conversation. So I'm sorry. Like, it's either you load it yourself or you leave me alone.
Oh, I don't like that. No.
We known each other how many years? You know how I load the dishwasher. Just like she said in the argument. Do the dishes come out clean? Yes.
If the answer is no, then maybe
yes. No. The dishes come out clean. You just don't like the way I load it because it's not how you load it.
Right.
But you not loading it. So as long as the dishes coming out clean, you can leave me alone about how I load this dishwasher. That's the
I don't have a problem with that as long as they come out clean. But if they're not coming out clean,
no, if they're not coming out clean, then you fuck it up. But if they coming out clean, because he don't like, I think it's something like the way I put the spatulas in and the bowls, he hates it. Because I don't know, it's weird. Like he loads it like his mom loads it. I load it like my mom loaded it. So it's really a clash of household supremacy. Okay, it's household supremacy. You not getting me to change it, leave me alone. So yeah.
Y'all holding on to spatula placement in a dishwasher?
It's petty. And once again, when you open this dishwasher, don't say nothing to me. Get your dishes and keep it pushing. Or load it yourself. That's the line in the sand. Don't say
God. I'm really embodying the dishwasher. This is crazy.
Look, this is the reality of marriage, okay? I wish I could sit up here and be mature and act like we don't be scrapping over this dishwasher. But look, don't say nothing to me about this dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I couldn't do it because growing up, my mother had a specific way of cleaning. I mean, the whole Saturday, put the music on, everything's got bleach on it. Like all the water, all the mop buckets, got bleach in it. The sink got so she was that person. So everything on the weekend got like spotless. Me, I'm straightening up. So your way is like a vacuum, a broom. It's going to view like utensils. Me, I'm picking up clothes. So, yeah.
Wait, like you're more of a tidier?
Yeah, I'm more of a tidier.
And she's
I'm not
like
a deep. She's a like every weekend. She's gonna hit that deep clean, and you was gonna hit
deep
corners.
cleaners.
You're gonna hit corners and grates and grills and windows, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. So she like, Rashawn, go clean your room. I'm going to tidy up. I'm not going to clean my room.
Okay. So once again, it comes down to that. I think, like she said in the video, your way it's not always black and white. It's not I'm right, you're wrong. It's just that you have to be able to accept that both of them are right. Like, and that's one of the, I'm sorry, but that's one of the hardest things for me, for us living together, was because my husband's very neurotic and I am not. And so, like, a lot of times it would come down to stuff like that. Like, just because your mama had y'all doing free slave labor every Saturday, bro, that does not mean that's how a house has to be cleaned.
I might be the neurotic one. I don't know. I'm coming
Yeah,
to
you might be a little neurotic, because I was like, it ain't never happening. It ain't never happening over here.
Don't be looking in the camera all straight in the camera like.
I just have a feeling, Kendra. I have a feeling you're the one that wants everything like perfect. I bet everything is so
because
perfect.
The problem is when you're a wife and no one will freaking say this. I don't care if you've been living, if it's just me and my husband, there's no kids in here. If something is out of place, my family will address me and say, why don't you keep the house clean? Because I'm the woman. You can't keep a clean house. So despite the fact that I'm over here slaving away, keeping this and that and that and this clean, you over here tidying up, and it's not helping me, because when my family comes over, they're not gonna address you as the man about it. They're gonna point the finger straight to me.
Oh, Rashawn, she said you and your standard cleaning is not gonna cut it. For her family. I wish my
they're gonna come over and say, you can't. They always expect women to clean. It's always the woman's, the wife's responsibility. You already know. Y'all can't keep a clean house. Nobody asks a man if you can keep a clean house when he got a wife.
Not my one now. I wish you would come in my house and say something. I only have one auntie. She will come in your house and start cleaning. And I always let her. When I had my baby, I'd be like, Auntie Barbara, you won't come over to my house? Because she's a clean, like she does that for a living. She cleans houses for a living. So she got the kid in the car. She come in the house. She gonna scrub your baseboard. Like, she cannot help it. So I'd be like, come over to my house real quick. Come here. But
dirty.
No, it's just like, if I'm pregnant, when I was pregnant, I'm not scrubbing my fucking baseboard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, but I mean, I see the dust collecting. You know what I'm saying? So I'd be like, let me call Auntie Barbara over here. But wipe your baseboards with a dryer sheet. It helps. Like at the end. So it helps with
from clinging, keeps it from clinging. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
You got pets too, you definitely need to do that. I'm just saying. But yeah, I mean, that's not how my family culture is. We don't have toxic culture for the people I allow in my house. So I don't know how that is.
Yeah. That's actually kind of interesting. Risa said her mom used to clean on top of clean. Man, it was just them bad weekends, man. Real bad weekends. But
I had a barbecue one time, and when you have a barbecue, people are in and out of the bathroom. I cleaned the house top to bottom, scrubbed everything. There was a speck. I don't know if it was a hair speck, a dust speck. My mother pulled me in. It was like, the toilet's not clean.
Like, the toilet cleaner is?
Man, speaking of the toilet cleaner,
perfectly fine. There was a speck of, I don't know what, little dust ball. God. Or whatever that came out. It was a barbecue. There was like 50 people here. Like, I can't keep checking the toilet every couple of minutes. Like, come on now. But she pulled me to the side. And that's just how my family is. Like, another time, not just my mom, but my dad, graduation dinner, my family went out. Unfortunately, my dog died, right? And so my husband that morning had to pick up his ashes at the vet. And so he was running around dropping me off to the graduation. So he didn't iron. He only ironed, like the front part of his shirt. He was wearing a jacket. He didn't iron the back part of it.
Right.
So, you know how that is when you're in a rush and you only do the front part.
So he in the
restaurant, and I guess he forgot and took his jacket off. My father called me the next day and was like, "Is everything okay at the house? Your husband's shirt was not ironed. What's going on with you? Like, what's happening?
Y'all busting apart at the seams. Let me check on."
Like, he called me the next day and was like, "We at the restaurant, and his like, what was happening over there? Y'all okay?"
I mean, at least he know though. Your dog had died, so something was going on. There you go.
He didn't know that the dog on the ashes and
But
stuff
he knew
like that.
something was
That's
off.
how.
He knew something
Once,
was off.
but minor little things like that. My family is so yeah. I guess I've become neurotic or whatever. But I've learned to let go of certain things because it drives me nuts. But yeah, like Caribbean families is no joke. I'm not sure if anyone else in the audience has got a family like that, but they don't play games when it comes to certain things.
Yeah.
Very neurotic.
I don't know. My mom was kind of a hippie, so I didn't grow up that way. We didn't even have to clean, really. All we had to do was do our laundry. She did everything else. So I didn't grow up like that.
So I just responded to a message. My one thing when y'all were talking about the toilet, man, that reminded me of my uncle, Uncle Jimmy. He was a janitor, but this guy, I've never met anybody that was so proud of cleaning the toilet. But I will say, to his credit, I've never seen the toilet clean so well that it looked like I could eat off of it or out of it. It just was, it was
gold.
So perfectly clean. And I was like, that looks so perfectly sanitary. I probably could just get a scoop of water out of there and be okay. Because that's how clean he kept it.
That's clean.
It was, I was like,
I mean,
but he took so much pride, the smile on his face. And I was like, bruh, there's two things I could never be excited about showing people. Because he took us to the bathroom to show us what he had just like somebody might bring their dish out. Like, look at this dish. He took everybody to the bathroom, like a group of us. Look at this. You know, stand back with the hands on you, like, you know, I was like, I'm mad.
My daughter would love him. My daughter would.
It's crazy.
She's neurotic about bathrooms. I am. So that's
amazing.
my one spot. I would love something like that. Yeah, you gotta clean the bathroom.
Yeah, for sure.
I got a toddler too, so like
But in addition to this conversation, I think one thing we have to learn is one thing I had to learn was it's okay to say no. It doesn't have to be an argument.
Yes.
Like it can be a disagreement, but it doesn't have to be like this huge source of conflict. So I feel like people get anxiety because they're afraid of saying no. And so they do all of this footing around and making false promises so they can find a secret way to get out of a conversation, as opposed to just saying no. And I don't know, you gotta learn to accept no as like, yeah, it's not like hey, do you want to go to my party? No, don't be offended. I don't want to go. Like,
and
people
you be walking around breaking hearts. I know you do.
People ask me to go to a pool party and stuff like that, and I'm not lying. It's like nurses, I'm having a pool party, you want to come? And I'm like, no. And they get really offended. And I'm like, I don't understand. Isn't that an option? You ask me a question and the option is yes and the option is no. There's two options, yes or no. You want me to lie to you and tell you yes, I'm gonna come and then don't come?
That's what
they
they
just
want.
want you to do what they want.
They want you to do right. Like they do the potlucks. Bitch, I'm on 312. I'm not waking up early to bake for y'all hoes. No. Like, I'm not cooking for y'all. Like, can you bring a dish to this potluck we just telling you about? Bitch, we working overnight. I need to go home and go to sleep. I gotta come right back up in here tomorrow. Y'all want me to wake up early to bake?
Mm-hmm.
No, not never. Stop asking me. I'm not doing it ever.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, they get mad. So yeah, say no. Grow some balls.
Oh boy. And that is a lot of it though. I honestly, it took me a really long time to work up being able to say no. That was not something that was in my vocabulary for a really long time. It made me a poor character person because I agreed to things I didn't want to do and then I flake out on them quite a bit. So now I'm a step better. I'll agree to it, try it, and then I'll back out. Like if I don't like it, I have enough. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not continuing on. But I would agree to it, just not show up or show up like really half energy or like half. That was bad. That was bad. I learned that about myself. But a book called Boundaries is where I learned to be able to. It's okay to say no, and other people got to live with that.
You should share the boundaries book with some people because I find a lot of people don't know how to enforce boundaries.
Yeah, it was good.
Just short of violence, which is why I think debate often turns into arguments, and people invited people to go in boxing rings with them and shit because you can't take a disagreement, which is stupid as fuck. But and maybe you should share that book. I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's available at everybody's local library for completely free 99. Check it out. Boundaries was something that was transformational for me. I'm learning that it was okay to say no because in my family dynamic, again, but like the lady said, it goes back to a lot of sometimes our childhood traumas, things we've learned. You were not allowed to say no as a child. You had to do whatever the adults said.
Really?
Yeah,
You couldn't say no?
No, you had complete compliance. It was complete compliance or get hit. So
Wow.
yeah, there was no respectful parenting. That's weirdo stuff.
I don't think I didn't even see that as respectful parenting. I just felt like, damn, kids can't say no sometimes. Like they can't
No,
be
I
tired.
couldn't. Or even push my bottom lip up to show that
Yeah.
I'm walking around here
Huh?
disapproving of shit. You don't pay no
Yeah.
bills in here. Put your lip down. You ain't no
Bless
grown
y'all.
woman in here.
Tiny little souls. I'm so sorry that
Yeah.
that happened to y'all.
Yep. Lose your lip saying no. And again, she got it honest. My mother got it from her mother. You could not talk back. You could not Arshawn's a dime. You could not explain. You couldn't stomp off. Man, the stomp off was the worst because you're a kid. So you stomp off, come back here. Now try it again. And you stomp off, come back here. So about the fifth time, you're tired of stomping because you're exerting energy. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
No
So
wonder
y'all
all have black people be having high blood pressure by the time. You can't even emote. You can't even transfer energy to the floor. I can't even stomp the floor, which is an inanimate object. The floor get more respect than my human emotions.
Yes. Yes.
The door get more respect than my human
Can't
emotions.
slam the door. Can't slam the door.
Your special couch in the living room get more respect than my human emotions. God.
That's where a
sorry.
lot of us grew up.
I'm sorry it happened to y'all.
But that's why you see some of these dudes talking crazy about women. Like they want women to exist in that same kind of suppression. Like you're not allowed.
God. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I was mute, but I was just agreeing.
Yeah.
I
I mean, that's where it comes from.
I had debates with men on my platform, including my evil twin, about how when a woman's processing her emotion, she's unpleasant because she's in a negative emotion, how it's affecting you, and like, oh my god, I can't exist in my energy in your space.
Yeah, this one, if you cry after you get spanked, you will get spanked. Yeah, it was bad. It was
Which
bad.
is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. You literally just hit me and I can't even cry. Now I got to get hit for crying.
Yep. Because that's exactly, you get hit and you start crying. Shut up, for I give you something to cry about. I'm like, you just gave me something to cry about. Jesus Christ. Yep, let me give you something to cry about. Ah, man, let me give you something.
That's terrible. Emotional terrorists.
But imagine how pervasive it had to be for this many parents across this many states in whatever countries to have similar experiences. Like, why was child rearing so similar? You know what I'm saying? That just trips me out.
We expect these same people to be able to come online and have healthy arguments. I get it.
Yeah, it's a mess.
I understand.
It's a mess. No conflict resolution. Everything has to be met with aggression.
Yep. I don't think it. I mean, how do you trauma? I mean, so what do you think? Are people gonna have to read and look at videos to learn it? Because I don't think that's gonna happen. We already know we struggle with the dictionary. I mean,
but again, I learned, and other people are learning, and some people watch me watch this, like these videos. Everybody, we don't know where everybody is in their journey of discovery. So I share the things that help me and that have helped me because it may help somebody else because they may not be where I am or they may be where I am in the future. I don't know. I can't speak to anybody else's path, but that's why I continue doing this because I believe a lot of the things we say and do can be helpful on different levels. I've heard so many people, even if nobody else said anything, it's been helpful for me to have these conversations with y'all. You know what I'm saying? So if for nobody, if even for purely selfish reasons, I've evolved my thinking from these conversations. So I would have to believe, and I've heard that other people are being benefited as well. So I do believe in a benefit. I just don't think it may benefit the people we think need it the most, but I'm also not focused on them.
Everybody can't make it.
Want to hear. Everybody can't. Woo, hit so hard you can't catch your breath. Jesus Christ.
And everybody can't be led in the ark either because they might sully everybody else.
No, the community has already said that Simon can't come back. I mean, we're already making community decisions.
That was so fast too. Everybody was like, "You." He had a lot of chances, though. Honestly,
He had a lot of chances. I give as many chances as possible. I don't think. Well, I'm not going to say that. I see a lot of very permissive spaces, but I give as many chances I believe are fair. I mean, he had multiple chances that day on the panel, and he had multiple chances before then. Yeah, my mother. Yeah, now let me give credit to my mother, man, because I hope I don't get emotional. I've seen my mother transform, so I always have to believe that it's possible. My mother, you know, they say, don't judge a person by where they stand, but judge a person by the distance traveled. I mean, I'm not even gonna get into it because I can already feel it. I'm so proud of my mother, what I've seen in my lifetime. The changes that she's made, the growth that she's taken on, the bravery and courage it took to face down all of the challenges she faced. Man, I take inspiration from her daily because of how big she showed up over time. It started off like I've spoken a little bit about early on in my youth. It was bad. Like she talked about, we were just talking about the physical violence thing. It was bad when I was young. But she changed so completely as a person that she's unrecognizable as the person I grew up with. So I got to give her flowers while she's here to hear them and while I'm here to give them. But yeah, she started out with counseling, antidepressants, prayer, and really wanting to change. Yeah, so I mean, she is definitely an amazing person. And I wish I could. It's Women's Month or something. It's Happy International Women's Day, but it's also Women's History Month. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to give a good, but I know she went from welfare, you know, to all that, drinking and smoking, got all that herself. Didn't have to go through a program. She just quit. It took a couple times, but I watched her quit and struggle, quitting cigarettes and alcohol. I watched her get a job. I watched her develop and be in that job like 30 plus years. Watched her retire. Watched her go from being on the bus with me or walking with me on her shoulders to buying a car and paying it off before her first payment was due. Like I've seen her. I mean, man.
That's inspirational as fuck.
Yeah.
That's dope. Shout out to Rashawn's mama. That's Margaret Smith.
The whole one time for her.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I didn't hear it.
Oh, is it not going off?
Nah, it's not like them. It's not like the magic. You had that magic.
Yeah, it's not like that Bejeweled game or whatever. That time. But that's dope to be able to see growth. And I think when we come on these spaces a lot of times too, I know we have conversations and a lot of us can't see the growth in where we don't know where all of us came from either.
Yeah.
I mean, we all just show up in one moment of time, and we've been rocking as a crew for like a year now, but still, we had whole lives before this. And I think
absolutely.
I wish there was a way to see that more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think it would make people authoritative to some degree. I think we need more authoritative change. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people on here talking and you have no idea where they came from or what they've been through. Have they actually done anything they talk about? Is this just a wishful thinking, idealism? You know, are we still in the realm of possibility, or is this like real life? And, so hearing you say that about your mom just makes me think about how time is a good prover of, if somebody is, deserves the flowers or not.
Absolutely. And what up, Truth? What up, Truth? Yeah, it is an important thing that's why we talked about the zone of accountability. But also, we also need the lens of time, because that's what we don't have with why I say it. Even though we're online, we really don't know people because of the distance. We don't get to see them over time. We don't get to see them interact with their friends, their family, in their community, on the job. We don't get to see how people operate in real life, which is one of the reasons though I try to speak my faults, because you can't see them operate in real life. So I speak them so that I'm still flawed. A lot of people get up here and speak with authority and confidence. I don't want a false portrayal like I have it all together, because I've seen some people pretend to have it all together, and then I've seen when it all fell apart as well. and I don't want to be that. Let me know I'm all apart now. I'm all apart now. Watch me try to put it together. I'm apart now. I'm gonna try to put it together. I want it to work in the opposite. I don't want to lift myself up only to fall. Let me just lay myself flat and get lifted up, because I'm not doing it. I'm not falling.
I mean, what percentage? I mean, I would say you only see maybe 5% of a person. I mean, if you take away what they say they are, I mean, you can't. Would you even say 5%? I don't think.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. All you can really see is their personality as they demonstrate it. And you can kind of see through some of the cracks when they're wearing a facade. It's really a percentage I really couldn't even say. I really couldn't even say, because the way
I feel like it's a very low.
It's got to be
low percentage, especially if you're not interacting with them consistently. Like we've all been like around each, like in the online space for a while. So some patterns of behavior, some little stuff that people allow you to see, you can see. But I mean, there's so much that people don't even allow to be seen online.
Absolutely.
So you can't really know.
Shout out Big Rig Slaps in the building. What's up, my guy? Yeah, so I like what Risa said. Long as there's blood running in your veins, you can change, which is why I try to extend grace to people, because man, if I've seen my mother change as much as she did, I know I can change. I've changed. I changed before I even got on the internet, and I'm still changing. So I know I have to give room for people to have their growth moment. But if they're not open at that moment, I do that whole, dust your feet and keep moving type thing. You know what I'm saying? It's important to know when you're sowing in the good earth, or casting your pearls before swine. That those pearls of wisdom from the Bible that I take, even though I don't adopt the religion, I do believe a lot of that stuff is very useful language on how to move in the world.
I will keep calling them stupid too, because I just enjoy that for myself. When you dust your feet off, call them stupid on the way out. Please. Stupid for me. I appreciate it. I enjoy that. Yeah, myself. So I just want you to keep calling people stupid. Do it more.
If I feel that they're stupid, I'm not going to just do it. I'm not just going to.
No, I said do it more. I know. If you actually get to the point of calling them, I know they're stupid. So like, do it. At your leisure, when you feel like it needs to be said, please say it.
I will. Thank you, Brie.
I disagree. I want to disagree with Brie right here. Okay. On going record and saying that I don't think there's any value in having certain conversations online. If you think the person's stupid, I'm not even going about AR or anything, but like I feel like conversations are just, it gets nowhere online. So if it's necessary to keep it offline, then keep it offline. That's just my opinion. Right.
I mean, no, I don't think you should have a conversation about it. But once again, if somebody has the audacity to stroll up on your shit, but they ain't read, watched nothing, paid attention, got no context, know what's going on, come talking crazy, get warned, refuse to listen to the warnings and the flags that are being flashed in front of them, and then proceed to get upset when they're called what they're behaving like, and then demand a whole audience to talk about why they were called what they were called, and then just further prove why they were called what they were called, then I'm sorry, you just walked into it. I mean, what else is there to be done? I'm just saying, like, it's one thing if you have a whole stream about that in general, like that's a waste of time.
Sorry.
But
oh my God, sorry.
Rashawn's face. It does.
Yeah, I can't help it.
It does. So I mean, no, I just mean in that capacity, in the spaces where like not going out and preaching the gospel of it or anything like that. Somebody earns the title, then that you shall be. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I don't disagree that sometimes the title is earned, but I feel like the bigger picture sometimes is like when we're talking about this conversation is about conflict and discussing resolution. Some of the name calling, although it might be warranted, it just feels like, are we going to ever get to a resolution if we're out here calling people bastards and stupid? And
I don't agree with calling people that.
I'm not saying anything about anyone in particular. I'm just using these because, but like, can we ever get to a resolution if we start doing this? Like, I might have in my mind that you're stupid. That's fine. It's in my head. I already know how I feel about you. I think you're stupid. But if I verbalize that out loud, is that going to help us get to the resolution?
Yes, it will. Because the problem is everybody thinks they're intelligent. Everybody thinks they're an authority. And everybody thinks they can just say what they want to say to whoever they want to say it, however they want to say it, and not have nobody call them out on it because everybody gets a participation trophy. Everybody input is valuable. No, if you had multiple chance to bring value to the space and you don't want to, all you want to do is show up and say dumb shit, then I'm sorry. At some point I'm gonna have to call you what you're behaving like. Now you can change. You cannot be that way. I'm not damning you. I'm not putting you in hell. I'm not saying you're going to be that way till you die. You don't have to be that way till you die. But you're not going to come into space. I'm just not one of them people. Like, everybody don't have to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
If you have nothing to add, and like you said, we're trying to work together to come to some improvement, conclusion, help the community, whatever, and all you got is terrible shit to say. I mean, what value are they bringing? Am I missing some value?
No, you are 100% right. First of all, let me just say this before I even make my point. Yella should not be in charge of the counter. That is toxic right there. Yella, somebody else should be in charge of the counter, not Yella. Anybody but Yella.
He's doing good. You only come on, Candy, counter two.
Yeah, you only had two.
Right.
So nice.
I agree with you, Bree, though. To get back to the point, I agree with you. I just my MO is just to ignore. You see what I'm saying? My my MO is just to ignore you and move on. Because if I am my mind and I'm able to have internal speech with myself, that's one thing that I'm constantly doing. I'm always having this internal dialogue. Yes, I already think you're stupid. Yes, I already think you're blah, blah, whatever it is I have in my mind. I just don't see the need to verbalize it to you. I've already made my decision. And so therefore, I've decided that you're not worthy of having a conversation with. I've decided that, like, I'm not going back and forth with you. I don't see the need to entertain it because at the end of the day, it's going to be fruitless.
I totally get what you're saying, and that's typically how I operate. But I'm also wanting to, unfortunately, we've gotten to a space where people cannot call things as they are. Nobody will directly confront problematic behavior. So I want to be able to, not all the time. Every time it's not necessary. I'm not out to intentionally intentionally inflict harm. So I wasn't then, and I'm not doing it now to intentionally inflict harm upon AR or anybody else. But there is a catharsis for me to be able to let it out. There's also, because where I started with was not calling him stupid. Where I actually started was what you're saying is stupid. I was being very specific when I said it. What you're saying is stupid, and not because it's ignorant. It's because you're resisting new information. And resisting the new information serves you no benefit, and it serves everybody else no benefit. It's a double negative. So at that point, in this classification from this other video from another live on another platform, that's stupid. No benefit to you, no benefit to anybody else. That's the definition of stupidity. And that stance was stupid. But again, because it kept all the pushback, just frustrated me. I'm like, okay, we're going nowhere. Now I'm just going to call you stupid. But again, then there was pushback on that. Okay, well, now I'm going to double down on it. So that was on me.
It escalated.
Yeah, I typically just stay at what you're saying is stupid. That belief is stupid because I don't believe a person is actually stupid. They may be stupid in an area, but there's probably some area that everybody's expert in. So I try to not do that. But again, that was me getting petty. I'm not going to say they won't do it to me, but I know I'll react and will not be good because some people keep negative energy. Vaughn Brian in the building. Hello. Make sure you're all blue. Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure being here with you. Enjoy the rest of your day, night. Never forget how awesome you are.
Bye, Rashawn's mom.
Bye.
Good night.
One of the things I find interesting about this conversation, though, is oftentimes the people that don't like to be called names are the first people to sling shit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like, exactly.
No,
which is why it always ends up coming back around to them. Because how many times have you been called anything on a panel? Even when people didn't agree with you, how, like, even we were talking about earlier, going on some areas and it's hostile. Even in those hostile spaces, I myself have never been called out of my name. I've never had anybody say anything completely sideways to me, because I generally don't say that to other people. So a lot of times I don't feel bad for people who catch that kind of heat, because a lot of times they're the main ones doing it.
Yep.
And real quick, I got to interrupt you. Hey, Mom, if you're still watching and you haven't turned off, Nova said he was sampling you the other day. I just wanted to tell you. All right. Go ahead, ladies.
Childish.
I don't like it when my mom watches my videos. I don't like it.
I know
My
Nova's
mom watched my
mortified.
stuff.
My mom watches my stuff and calls me about it and want to talk to me about it. I don't like
That's
that.
beautiful. That's
No, I
beautiful.
don't like it.
Nice. That's nice.
No.
I don't know. I like arguing with my mom. Sometimes I call her after the show and keep arguing.
And that's wonderful. Your mom is so cool. I enjoyed her commentary. But yeah. Well, we dying down. I appreciate it. I think this will be a good time. I think I'm gonna go eat, because we do have that versus. This is my second day. I do appreciate both of
Before you
ladies
get into
coming.
that, how the hell do you guys know anything about Caribbean music? Where are you getting your sources from? I'm concerned about this. Ain't nobody called me and asked me for no suggestions. You know, I'm one of the few Caribbean people on here. I'm concerned. I'm concerned.
Listen, I'm gonna do like the dishes, Candidan. You know, if you think you can do better, then you could do the verse. You could verse Yella.
Ooh,
You got all the Caribbean influence.
how.
See what I'm saying?
How do
See,
I do
see,
it? I
I mean,
tried
it's
it one
about
day
to
and
be
you
mid,
cut me
like
off.
when they did that blue eyes. So it's about to be trash. Don't even get your hopes up.
Wow.
I'm just saying. It was
Wow.
terrible.
Your mom
So,
watched. She liked it. She like, come on, ma'am. Oh man, that's beautiful. I love it. All right, don't ask sources. Just come and judge us. If you think all our choices are trash, just give us a 1. Just give us a 1.
I'm gonna be very judgy. Wait till I get that counter in my hands.
Candidate, don't be like that. But yeah, so that'll be tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time over on Twitch. I appreciate all of y'all. Let me see. What did I don't even know what it's. Let me see. That should be the Twitch link coming up in a second if Nightbot is on the job. But ladies, again, I appreciate you all coming up. Give us your last words before I get ready to head up out of here and go eat. Bree, give us something. Drop some nuggets on us.
Yeah, this was a great video. That video, if y'all came in late and y'all missed the video with the little white lady talking about arguing, it was great. Go back and watch that. Because she had some valid points, you know what I mean? So I came from a family that practiced the art of debate. My dad used to sit us down and make us debate why we shouldn't be punished. So I was very good at that. So I think it's good to learn the art of debate. So go back and watch that if y'all missed it.
That's what's up. Appreciate that. Y'all know where y'all can find Kawaii Bree on Twitch, Kawaii Bree on YouTube, Kawaii Bree 123 on Twitch, Kawaii Bree 123 on YouTube, and Kawaii Bree Can't Relate. And I'll be putting those links in while Candid Ann is speaking. But Candid Ann, would you give us your closing thoughts, please?
Yeah, this was a great conversation. I think it's something that we really got to consider a lot. And I love the video. I'm happy that Bree mentioned it, because the video, was really, really great. But in addition to the video, like I mentioned before, let's, take everything in with a grain of salt. So as we are, trying to figure out how to have respectful conversation and conflict resolution and all these different things, let's take into mind who we're actually talking to. I think, Arshawn, you had mentioned one time that people don't care how much you care until they know that. What was the quote? I'm messing it up.
They don't. Yeah, I don't know who said it, but they don't care how much you know until they know how much you think, or they don't know. Whatever. It's one of those. I flipped it.
They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yes, that.
Right.
Thank you.
There you go. Yeah. And so I think we got to keep that in mind when we're talking about conflict resolution. The way that we speak to someone. I know some of us are like, I don't care. Well, but what I said, was it right? Who cares about my tumble? Was it the fact? Right? As a nurse, if I spoke to you in a certain kind of way and I'm like, but so what? Did I keep you alive? You really wouldn't like it. right? So I need us to take ourselves sometimes outside of ourselves and put ourselves in another person's shoes. I need to do the same thing also. Think, if I was the patient, would I like this? Would I want and that? We have to do a little bit of internal work in order to do a little bit of conflict resolution. We can't just sit within ourselves and say, but understand how I feel. We got to kind of like both work on the other side of the table and consider the other person. So yeah, great conversation. I'm looking forward to this versus battle. Because you know, I got the career. So I hope everyone checks out your stream, you and Yella tonight. It should be a whole lot of fun. And so yeah, awesome conversation. Bye guys.
Appreciate you, Candid, and thank you everybody that tuned in today. I really do appreciate you taking the time to sit and listen with us, chit chat with us. I appreciate all of your presence. It means a lot to me. All of your feedback means a lot. Y'all been dropping comments after the stream, so y'all been doing all of the things that I've been asking for. So I promise y'all, I appreciate y'all so much. The versus battle. So on Twitch, because we can't play music on YouTube, on Twitch, you remember that? I don't know if you saw over the pandemic, there would be musical artists and they would go back once and they would just alternate playing a song. Well, we do the same thing on Twitch. Yellow will pick a song, then I'll pick a song, then everybody in the chat gets to vote who had the better round. And after 5 rounds, we'll compile the totals and that person will have won that round. And then we do a second category with a different style of music or something of that nature. And we'll do it again to see, you know, we'll do 2, at most 3 rounds or 2 and a tiebreaker. So we do that just to have a little bit of fun, a little bit of music. It's light, it's fun. People come in and out, breeze in and out, and we do like a little poll for people to vote. So it's just different. And because on Twitch, we get to do a lot more. Yella does movies, Yella does TV shows. So make sure you follow him up on Twitch, because there is a lot more that we can do over there. So games, movies, television shows. We've been watching The Last of Us over there. He's had movie marathons, TV shows. What's the one with The Rock? He watches the one with The Rock. So we get on the stream and talk about a bunch of stuff, play music. It's a lot more relaxed. So come check us out. I appreciate what Ann said about people not caring what you know until they know you care. Never heard that before. I wish I got to catch more. Busy day today. No, it's absolutely cool, Nova, because the absolute worst thing you could have said is that you never heard that before, knowing that I've said it multiple times, which means you weren't listening to me, which means I now unfriend you. Anyway, but no, hopefully everything is going well at school, Nova. Appreciate you all the time you do spend. Absolutely appreciate you. You guys are the best. You guys keep me going, which is why I've done these like 2 weeks of almost daily lives, and I feel good about it. So tomorrow, what's tomorrow? Thursday? Yes. So tomorrow, Come On Man. We will be doing Come On Man. It's going to be a little cathartic, a little slightly educational. It's just going to have a definition. There's going to be one definition, and we're just going to flow off of it. So a lot of the people that you've heard, you'll be hearing those names again, and we'll just unpack it a little bit, because people are resistant to new ideas and reason. That's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So you cheeky son of a gun. Yes, I am. But that will be tomorrow. And then Friday, because we had so much fun stepping into foolishness last Friday, I'm just going to be an open panel. I'm going to start the stream. The StreamYard link will be in the stream from the beginning. So who comes up, comes up. I'm not policing it. I'm not policing who comes up, mistake or not. And we'll just have an open dialogue about whatever. It'll be open topic, open panel, and we'll flow from there. If I regret it, I regret it. What's that? If I die, I die. Yeah, come over there and check it out. Come over to check it out. Get a nice pack, sit and ring, and relax. You earned it, bro. For sure. But I'm going to head out. That's the rest of this week. Next week, we'll talk about that maybe Friday. We'll talk about what the schedule is going to look like next week on Friday. But let me head on now, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.
God bless the food, goddammit. God bless the food. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm going to end this goddamn thing. Look, where's that goddamn money bowl at? Who got that money bowl? We taking that money right now before you leave this bitch. We ain't leaving out here for free, motherfucker. Where that money bowl at? Don't have any fire this bitch off now. Where that money bowl at? Don't you? Look, don't make me shoot it. All right. Officer Tuckerson was already a dead motherfucker. I don't mind shooting another motherfucker.